All right, and welcome back to another video with Daniele. I wanted to chat to you about. We'll start submitting songs every week. La 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 la. Happy days. Da da da. I'm a big fan of a summary doc. You know, what's the thing I'm presenting? What am I worried about? What do I need to improve? What questions do I have? So rather than just like, I wrote a thing, blah. Is it good or is it bad? Great. Let's take it the next step further. I've written a song. I'm not sure. Does it read right? You know, this is my intention. I want the audience to sort of learn this. You know, does this chord progression quite work? Is the range of the piece, you know, is that going to suit the vocals? That said, I'll probably talk more about this, but the vocal range starts to get into a slightly different stage in the development of your music. But hey, if you can do both of them at once, great. So let's have a look. So I've written this little resource. I'll pause for a second. My encouragement here is that you have a document for each song. So it's going to be a bit tricky because when we're actually doing the submissions, it'll be per week, so that's fine. So we'll actually create folders, I think, that will express week 1, week 2, da da da. But, and I know this might not make a lot of sense right now, if we're going down the track of like you're presenting your work to a human like me, who is a music director and arranger and an orchestrator, and you want to have your stuff ready to go, I would encourage you to have a folder for each song and then a document within that folder that outlines your lyrics, outlines any other resources, maybe depends on the person's temperament, but for me, I like pictures and I like emotions and like references, you know, so it gives me like a sort of one-stop shop for your song. I don't like having to like kind of dig around and then jump into the script and then jump into the da-da, you know. So anyway, my point being is that when we submit the song, I'd encourage you to duplicate this file, which is in the resources folder as song background document. And you'll see that it's just got they're just basically references. Don't think too hard about this. If you have no idea, don't worry about it. If you actually are struggling to write a song, maybe do this first, and this might give you some ideas. So sounds like some people actually like to reference different music to actually stimulate the writing process, and great, because there's so many songs that have been written. Sometimes it doesn't really make sense to reinvent the wheel. Genre, you know, jazz, bebop, I don't know. Tempo, what are we after? Even if a rough BPM you've got, great. You know, style, great. And then the time signature, again, they're just kind of, the meter influences things without getting too much into detail, but it can provide some context. You know, you go an extra level, by the way, when you ask yourself why for each of these. Just get someone else to ask you why, and you'll start to go, oh, I don't know. Why is it in 4/4? I don't know. Harmonic rhythm. This is a tricky one, but it's harmonic rhythm. We'll get into it, but it's like how the harmonies move from chord to chord. It's not necessarily about tempo. It's really about what the chord progression is and how quick they move from chord to chord. This is a really bad explanation, but hopefully I can get a bit more into that. Here, you could actually write like, you know, chord idea 1, F, G, C, A, whatever, you know, chord idea 2, blah, 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 blah. Stuff like that. Or you could even write a little table and fill out the chords there. Another way to write the chords, by the way, is / to indicate a bar. This is if we get into chords and you haven't notated your stuff, which we'll get into in a different video. All right, why does the song exist? So important. What's the message? What are you trying to convey? What changes if the song is included or removed? Really important question, and it forces you to be honest, because if you answer that question, you go, nothing changes, things progress as they would, then you really need to ask the question, do you need to have the song in the show? Why is it a song, not a scene? Again, we'll talk into like, why music? Really important question, eh? So what pushes something from a scene into song? And then, as the age-old debate, from song into dance break, you know, why can't I sing anymore? I need to sing, now I need to move and dance, that sort of thing. Who's singing? Again, just context. Who are they singing to or about? I think that's a really important question. Sometimes we don't really ask who they're singing to. You could say the audience, you could say their inner child, maybe there's a direct person on stage, whatever. Setting and time, yeah, when and where and when is this happening? And then our audience stuff, what do you want the audience to think or feel? Again, keep considering the audience, very important. So my encouragement is you fill this out for each of your submissions. Bonus points if you end up doing your song function document, if I can find it, or whatever. Yeah, your song function document, and then maybe even like link your, who's a whatsies? Lost my train of thought. But anyway, you link your song background template to each of them. So I just want to say that the fundamental kind of nature of all of this is to really provide context, to synthesize the information, to rewrite it, in many different ways. And what we're trying to do, or what I'm passionate about, okay, is how to bring someone on board as quickly as possible. So this goes into like collaboration, preparation. How do I work with another musician? How do I work with another actor? How can I get someone on board as quickly as possible without having them to have to read a script and siphon through lots of different documents? This is my style. It's not really for everyone. So if you don't vibe it, or if you have any questions, you let me know. If you have any feedback or opinions or improvements, let me know. I'm hoping that I'll be able to do some presentations on, one of them is why music and the function of music in a musical. And then the second, I'm wanting to do one a bit more on process, which I'll just show you a glance now. It's just working with MIDI and how to generate your content and move it into notation land. Like, what's that process about? Some people are already working in notation land, but if we can just learn some different tools to help transform that into notation, we can, again, work with someone like myself who can just pick up the music and do a few other little tricks to kind of make the music scored properly. All right, let's leave it there. Lots of love, everyone. That's an interesting conclusion. And if you have any questions, let me know. Real strong encouragement to do the song function document. And I'd love to check in with both groups just to see where they're at in their musical development, if they have any questions, and if you've got any questions, or if you have any weaknesses, things you're unsure about, things you'd like to learn more about in the realm of music, let me know. All right, farewell.